Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with the Artist Buff. Today I wanted to talk about something that I found, just a few hours ago, with my family, and that is the European Weather Survey have their own, tornado and storm category, similar to how they rate tornadoes like EF0 to EF5 over in America. We have something called TORRO, which is Tornado and Storm. It's called Tornado and Storm Research Organization. So, what is the Tornado and Storm Research Organization? Well, basically, imagine taking the Enhanced Fujita scale and then just converting it into the T scale for tornadoes, and then making it double the length, and that's what you got with TORRO. TORRO doesn't just focus on the destruction of property. It also focuses on the wind speed of the tornado, the size of the tornado, the power of the tornado, and it also focuses on many other aspects that the Enhanced Fujita scale fails to realize, because the Enhanced Fujita scale only focuses on what it destroys within a populated area, and if a tornado just runs around in in countryside, it gets a relatively low rating. Very famous one of that is the El Reno tornado, which got a classification of EF3. Well, the TORRO rating is a little bit different. The TORRO rating, it doesn't matter where the tornado is, it matters of how much destruction it does to not just human-made structures, but also environmental structures. Does the tornado leave a scar? Does the tornado destroy trees? Does it uproot trees? How strong are the winds? Things like this. If the tornado is passing through countryside, that doesn't impact its rating that much. If its winds are very strong, if the tornado is very wide, that makes it go up in rating. So we're going to go through the ratings first, and then I'm going to go through the hypothetical scenario that I did with members of my family, because we all feel that the Enhanced Fujita scale doesn't really live up to its expectations. It's a bit flawed in my opinion, but the TORRO scale, I've looked at it and it is so much better. It's so much better. And just a little reminder, I'm not doing this just because I want to see loads of destruction and whatnot. I'm not doing that. I'm making this video because the TORRO rating, what the Enhanced Fujita scale fails to do, and a very, very, very famous example is the El Reno tornado again, is they class the El Reno tornado as an EF3. People may think, oh, the El Reno tornado wasn't that bad. If they kept the EF5 rating on the El Reno tornado, that would have made people think, oh, maybe I should stay back away from this tornado. But they dropped the rating, meaning that people are now going to be at more risk of going near this tornado. Yes, it's very large, but people don't really understand the destructive nature of that tornado. The TORRO rating is a bit different. Even if the tornado is ripping through countryside, it's not really hitting any populated areas, and it's just minding its own business, that does not impact its rating. it can hit a densely populated area, and it will get a very high rating. Same tornado can run across completely uninhabited countryside, which isn't doesn't have any populated areas of humans in the vicinity. It will still have a similar rating. Why? Because TORRO, they focus on not just localizing on keeping people safe, but to make sure people don't stray into the path of this tornado. But the other thing is also to make sure people in the future, realize that this tornado is, relatively dangerous. Tornadoes of this magnitude are relatively dangerous. So that's what I aim to do. So we're going to go through the different scales of tornadoes, and again, I will say it's a bit different. I know that a lot of you that live across the pond in America probably don't know what TORRO is, and that's why I'm going to explain the scale to you. So it is similar to the EF scale, but it's much broader. So we've got T1, which is a light tornado, 39 to 54 mile per hour winds, and its description of damage. So loose light litter raised from ground level in spirals. Tents, muckeries, and orange seriously disturbed. I do apologize if I say some words. If I can't say some words properly, or if I stutter on some words, I do struggle with some words, so I do apologize in advance. So please try and be patient with me. I've just been told that is marquees, so that's it. Some exposed tiles, slates on roofs dislodged, twigs snapped, trail visible through crops. Okay, that's a T0 tornado. Wheelie bins tipped and rolled, garden furniture and pots disturbed. Okay, so really not any damage. It basically it's just like a windy day basically. T1 tornado, mild tornado, 55 to 72 mile per hour winds. And I really like how they use 25 to 32 meters per second winds. I do like that because the EF scale doesn't really do that. So it's deck chairs, small plants, heavy litter becomes airborne, minor damage to sheds, more serious dislodging of tiles and slates, chimney pots dislodged, wooden fences flattened, slight damage to hedges and trees. Some windows become ajar, blown open, breaking latches. Okay, so you got a little bit more damage. You're starting to see visible damage to some, lightly structured structures, and some things are starting to get moved around. Windows are, windows already ajar are blown open, breaking their latches. So this is a mild tornado. This is a mild. So when you have a storm that comes over to the UK and you get gusts of 70 miles per hour, that's basically what it's like. So a T2 tornado, a moderate tornado, wind speeds of 73 to 92 miles per hour. Okay, so we're getting to the realm of an EF1 tornado. Yeah, this is quite a prominent tornado. Heavy mobile homes displaced, light caravans blown over, garden sheds destroyed, garden roofs torn away, and doors imploded. Okay, much damage to tiled roofs and chimneys, ridge tiles missing. General damage to trees, some big branches twisted or snapped off, small trees uprooted. Okay, that's quite some significant damage. Bonnets blown open on cars, weak or old brick walls toppled, windows blown over or, glazing sucked out of frames. Okay, so you know you're getting a little bit more damage. Of course, it's a stronger tornado, um, and it gets a higher rating. It gets a high rating of 2. So now we get to T3, which is a strong tornado, 93 to 114 miles per hour. Mobile homes overturned, badly damaged, light caravans destroyed, garages and weak outbuildings destroyed, house roof timbers considerably exposed, some of the bigger trees snapped or uprooted, some heavier debris becomes airborne, causing secondary damage, breaking windows and impaling softer objects. Okay, so now we're becoming dangerous. This tornado, it's now starting to lift objects, like it could be lifting small wooden beams and using them as projectiles. It could be, you know, lifting other objects, and you know those will become projectiles. So you're looking at, you know, more damage. Debris carried considerable distance, garden walls blown over. Eyewitness reports of buildings physically shaking, mud sprayed up the side of buildings. So this is what? This is probably around an EF2. So a T4 is a severe tornado, 115 to 136 mile per hour. So this is what? Probably around an probably around the EF2 still. Motor cars levitated, mobile homes airborne and destroyed, sheds airborne for considerable distance, entire roofs removed from some houses. Okay, so we are getting into some serious tornado damage. Roof timbers of stronger brick or stone houses completely exposed, gable ends torn away. Numerous trees uprooted or snapped. Traffic signs, which are those metal beams that stick in the ground, and you got those large signs, which, you know, if you get a strong enough person, you can, you know, it takes a lot of oomph, but you can bend it a little bit. But now we're getting a tornado which is bending it with no problem. Some large trees uprooted and carried several yards. Okay. And bear in mind, large trees, they are not light. They are very, very heavy. Debris carried up to 2 kilometers, leaving an obvious trail. Okay. So, T5. And I just want to look up real quick. What is the wind speed of an EF3? I just want to look at that real quick. Okay. So now we've got to an EF3. Let me just look at EF2. 111 to 135. So yeah, this is an EF2 strong tornado. EF1 is 86 to 110. So yeah, this would be a EF1, and then an EF0, 65 to 85 mile per hour. Okay. What we're looking at, T5, I believe. Heavier. Hang on, let me look. Yeah, heavier motor vehicles, 4x4s, 4-ton trucks, levitated. Wall plates, entire roofs, and several rows of bricks on top floor removed. Okay, Items sucked out from inside house, including partition walls and furniture. Hope I got that right. Older, weaker buildings collapse completely. Utility poles snaps. So that's quite a lot of damage. So T6, moderately devastating tornado, 161 to 186. I am pretty sure this is in the realm of an EF4. Let me just look real quick. EF4, 166 to 200. No, we're not even close. Moderately devastating tornado, so 165. So moderately devastating tornado. So a low end would be around an EF3, and a high end would be a EF4, a low end EF4. Oh, did I say low end EF3? I meant high end EF3. I do apologize. And then 186 will be a low end EF4. Strongly built houses suffer major damage or are demolished completely. Buildings and blocks, etc., become dangerous airborne debris. National grid pylons are damaged or twisted. Exceptional or unusual damage found, e.g., objects embedded in walls or small structures elevated and landed with no obvious damage. So, you know, that is quite considerable damage. You know, you're looking at a high-end EF3, low-end EF4. And this is exactly why the EF scale doesn't really work. It just, yes, it's made simpler, but at the same time the TORRO system goes deeper into it. It has more of these scales because the TORRO organization, they want to make sure to rate tornadoes to the point and make sure people are safely out the way. If the tornado has a medium to high rating, that means it is a destructive, dangerous tornado. If it has a lowish rating, that means it's relatively dangerous to, you know, gusty tornado. Still dangerous, but you know, it's not as dangerous as mid to high end. So now we go to T7. So we're getting into the realm of a low end EF4 and a high end EF4. Well, actually, that's not true. A mid EF4 to a high end EF4. I do apologize. So, strongly devastating tornado. Brick and wooden frame houses wholly destroyed. Steel framed warehouse type constructions destroyed or seriously damaged. Locomotives thrown over, so meaning they're not toppled over, they're literally picked up and thrown. It could be a few meters or you know, maybe like quarter of a mile, but they are thrown over. And you got to bear in mind, locomotives are not light as well. You know, they're reasonably heavy. Noticeable debarking of trees by flying objects. So what that means is basically flying objects hit large trees and rip off the bark. It's not about the tornado ripping off the bark. It's about debris hitting the bark of the tree and just ripping it off. Right, so severely devastating tornado. Winds 213 to 240. So this is an EF5. Motor cars carried great distances. Some steel framed factory units severely damaged or destroyed. Steel and other heavy debris strew over a great distance. a high level of damage within the hang on a minute. I'm trying to work out that word. Periphery of the damage path. I do apologize, guys. I do struggle with the words. So that is quite a considerable. I would say that's what's an EF5 over 200. So yeah, that's probably a low end EF5, low to mid end. Intensely devastating tornado, 241 to 269. Okay, so we're getting to a pretty intense EF5 tornado. It's the T9, and you got to bear in mind that TORRO. You know, even if this tornado, just runs along the countryside, and doesn't really do any, urban damage, that does not mean that it gets a low rating. It doesn't mean that. They focus on, does it leave a trail? How much damage has it done to the environmental area? Has it thrown a lot of debris around? What was the intensity of the tornado? How fast were the winds blowing? What was the size of the tornado? Factors like that. Factors that the EF scale failed to realise. And I'm sorry in saying that, but the EF scale is so incredibly flawed because all they focus on is the damage to urban areas. And that is that doesn't really help to keep people away from these things, because if the EF scale was to also calculate tornadoes on the countryside, like for example El Reno. I know I'm going back to El Reno because I can't really think of any other very large wedge tornadoes that had very large wind speeds and whatnot. Joplin hit a city, so that doesn't really count, but El Reno does, because El Reno didn't really hit anything really. El Reno got an EF3 rating because it didn't hit any major urban areas. Honestly, I find that to be flawed, because if the El Reno tornado happened, like for example in the UK where I'm based, and we'll be getting to my hypothetical scenario in a minute, even though it will be a 2.6 mile wide tornado with 302 mile per hour winds, it would be considered a super tornado. It would actually be considered as a T11 tornado. It will be considered as the single most destructive tornado ever. And even if it just went over, just countryside, just minding its own business, just over Dartmoor, because I live in the southwest, it will just go over Dartmoor. It would just devastate the area. It will completely annihilate the tree patches, which are quite large. It would, it would cause catastrophic environmental damage to the surrounding area. And that all counts to its rating. That would make the tornado still a very, very high rated tornado. And that's where TORRO will say, whoa, this tornado was very dangerous. We need to really ramp up our tornado prediction predictions here to make sure that we get faster tornado reaction time, so that we can react faster to tornadoes like this. And that's where the EF scale fails I don't say it, but it fails miserably. It really does. It fails so hard that I think they need to just scrap the EF scale, make a completely new one, make it so that it not only counts for the destruction of urban areas, but it also counts for tornadoes in the countryside. And you count the wind speed, you count the size of the tornado, you count of the damage it does to the countryside, you know, the size of the path it leaves behind, and then you put that all together to, you know, to rate it really. If it's a very large wedge with very high winds and it leaves a very large destructive path, that's an EF5. It's not an EF3. And that is where the EF scale fails. I just don't understand. So just on the last one, and it's T10, and it's Super Tornado. T11 is basically this. So entire frame houses and similar buildings lifted bodily. So basically entire houses and similar buildings. They could be apartment buildings, they could be hotels and whatnot. They are completely destroyed bodily from their foundations and carry some distances. Destruction of a severe nature, rendering a broad linear track largely devoid of vegetation, trees and man-made structures. Exactly what I just said. Track largely devoid of vegetation, trees and man-made structures. It doesn't say largely devoid of man-made structures, because that's what the EF scale does. It doesn't calculate for these two, and that's why it fails so hard. And that's why I am always against the EF scale. I am always against it. So we're going to go to my hypothetical scenario, which is right here. And so I literally just asked ChatGPT, and this is the hypothetical scenario. Given the characteristics you described for this tornado, a main tornado nearly 3 miles wide, which the El Reno tornado was nearly 3 miles wide, with EF3 to EF4 strength, which is about, T6 to, T9 area, accompanied by satellite tornadoes, is an exceptionally destructive and rare event. Here's an analysis of its potential TORRO rating considering the factors you've provided: main tornado and satellite tornadoes. The EF3 to EF4 strength of the main tornado, along with the satellite tornadoes reported, indicates a high level of intensity and complexity in the tornado event. Path and direction: moving southwest, then turning south after causing destruction in Devon, signifies an atypical direction for tornado movement in the UK, potentially causing surprise and scattering storm chasers. Size, wind speed and duration: the main tornado reaches nearly 3 miles wide and with wind speeds over 300 miles per hour, as well as reported 40 minutes duration and 16.2 mile path. Basically, I copied the thing of El Reno, to make it look like El Reno, because I wanted to compare it to El Reno. Illustrates the immense scale, intensity and sustained destructive force of this tornado. Impact on Dartmoor. Dartmoor's expansive size, while not densely populated, would still experience significant environmental damage and a visible scar along its path. Given the unprecedented characteristics of this tornado, including its size, intensity, and duration, it would likely be classified at the highest end of the TORRO scale. If the TORRO scale were hypothetically extended to account for such extreme events, this tornado might be rated as a theoretical tier 10 or higher. Well, there's already a tier 10 and there's a tier 11, so it will be either a tier 10 or tier 11. Or T11. I do apologise if I was saying tier. The combination of its exceptional size, intensity, duration, and path of destruction, along with the reported satellite tornadoes and atypical movement, would significantly impact the tornado's TORRO rating. This event would prompt substantial reevaluation of tornado classification and response strategies due to its extreme nature and unprecedented characteristics. That is exactly what the EF scale fails to do. The TORRO scale is very good at this. If a tornado the size of El Reno was to occur, it would be the highest rating possible, even if it doesn't hit any urban areas. This is because TORRO aims to protect the civilians, aims to make sure that there are no civilian lives lost. If it was to hit an urban area, like for example my town, which is around 2 miles wide, and this tornado is close to 3 miles, it will completely flatten it. There will be no buildings left. There's around 12,000 people in my town. Everyone would be extinguished because there's not many outside routes. There's not many routes to leave the town. So, you would have a lot of congestion, you would have a lot of traffic and whatnot while this tornado is barreling towards the town. And the satellite tornadoes would be a very, very dangerous and very scary phenomena. But even if it hits no urban areas, even if it goes over just flat field, well, not flat fields because the southwest isn't flat, but even if it goes over fields, and not hitting any urban areas, that does not impact its TORRO rating. That does not, because it's doing environmental damage. That is something that the EF scale fails to realize, is that the tornadoes in America do environmental damage as well. They do significant environmental damage. You're talking about other lives being lost, not just human lives, but also people are losing property, because there's a lot of farms out there that have a lot of fields, and people are you got lots of fields which are being destroyed. The El Reno tornado left a massive scar behind, yet it only got an EF3. And honestly, me and my family, we feel that it's wrong that it got an EF3, because it also sadly took the life of one of the most famous chasers ever, which was, if I can remember his name, Tim Samaras, which he sadly passed away in the tornado. And it kind of feels like that the National Weather Service just kind of pushed it under a rug, honestly. And yeah, I'm not blaming the National Weather Service at all. I'm just stating that they need to reevaluate. Sorry if I said that wrong. The EF scale, because the TORRO scale is so much cleaner. It's so much better. Yes, it's longer, but it's longer for so that they can classify tornadoes properly down to a T. Because the EF scale, it's more jumbled up. You get an EF4. Is that a weak EF4? Is that a strong EF4? Is that a mid EF4? You don't know. Or you get an EF5. Is that a weak EF5? Is that a mid EF5? Is that a strong EF5? You don't know. But with the TORRO scale, you can calculate the tornado. So if it's a T10, that means it is a very dangerous tornado. If it's a T8, that means it's a reasonably dangerous tornado, but it's probably a weak probably a very strong EF4, probably reaching around a pretty weak EF5. So the T scale is definitely better in my opinion. I feel very satisfied with it, and hopefully this hypothetical scenario really opens everyone's eyes, because if America was to adopt a scale like this, not only more lives would be lost, but also storm chasers would be able to use this scale to not only just calculate the tornado when it goes over urban areas, but also calculate tornado when it goes over countryside, because then they can freely calculate the tornado, because the EF scale has so many restrictions to it. It's so restricted, which is honestly kind of wrong, really. It is kind of wrong. So I hope this video helps. I'm not sure if my family members want to say anything at all. Also, don't forget to look up the TORRO website. I will link it in the description below, and I will see you guys later. Peace.